Good evening, good evening, good evening. Who lulls everybody into a false sense of security by losing 6 games out of 7, then whips off the mask and say, haha, it was me all along. It's Arnie Slot and also us, because clearly Arnie Slot is listening to what goes on in this Thursday night podcast every week, because everything we say happens the week after. It's the American Scouser TV Thursday night podcast, joined by Suzy and Brian for now. How are we, gentlemen?
Good. It's good to be back again.
Doing great.
We've been holding the fort while you layabouts have been taking time off. You've been doing a fantastic job. And there was even dancing nipples, but everybody missed that, especially last week. That might have been off air. I'm not going to tell anybody. But we're supposed to have Cosy, but maybe he's doing a Trent and he's hiding in the substitutes bench away from the booze. Now here he comes. He's not hiding in the substitutes bench like Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's here on time in the same time zone ish. He's Cosy.
Like, gents, I completely forgot again. I just honestly, my mind's. I just got back from Mexico early this morning, so yeah, I'm kind of still.
It's on a world tour.
Indeed, going everywhere.
Of North America. Here is what we're going to look at today. It's fairly simple. We're going to look at the game against Madrid and a second in hopefully a 3-step return to form. We'll talk about what changes Arnie Slot has made basically he's made the changes we told him to. But we'll talk about that and then we'll look ahead to the game. We'll also, during the Madrid conversation, talk a bit about Trent something or other, and then the lad from Northern Ireland who was phenomenal. But let us talk about that game. We could wax lyrical about the return to intensity that was the Aston Villa performance. But I only saw the second half live and I had to watch the first half delayed. But that was a proper intense last season performance, wasn't it? That was what we wanted to see.
It's the best we played for 90 minutes since Spurs last year. The whole 90 minutes. I thought Liverpool had been great in parts. For example, the first 30 minutes of the derby, for example, thought Liverpool were great. But it should be the benchmark, no? Do you know what I mean? Like, that should be the benchmark. No excuses anymore. We know you can get to that level again. We know McAllister can play that well. We know Bradley can play that well. We know Gavin Birch can still get back to his level. And, Vert's his best performance. So, no excuses then. Let's ride it in. We're going to City now. Big game. You've made a few mistakes in the last 4 weeks. We'll forgive you if you start winning some footy matches. And this is how it works. So, let's see, mate. I'm super proud of the lads. Listen, Real Madrid came and offered nothing. Let's be frank. They offered nothing. Literally, they had one half-decent chance which Bellingham should score, to be honest. It's an awful piece of defender, Mike Canate. He gets absolutely stood up. But that's the only negative. All of them were brilliant. Every player was brilliant. I think it's the best we've looked since Robertson, of course, has come back into the side the last 2 games. And that's not me digging out the other left back. It's just like he just looks more assured. It looks like Virgil trusts him a lot more as well. So, man, it was an amazing performance. And it was the most one-sided 1-0 ever. So that's, always nice.
Suzy, what are your thoughts on the overall broad picture of the game yesterday? The day before?
No, it was obviously the performance matched, or more than matched, the result. I think the 1-0 flattered Real Madrid, and if it wasn't for that bastard, Qatar, we would have won this game a lot more handsomely than we did. The pleasing thing about this is that we beat Villa the way we did and kept a clean sheet, and then we didn't take a step back. So, 2 back-to-back performances, clean sheets. The performance yesterday was great. As Kazi said, saw the best out of Macka yesterday, best out of Bradley. The only thing with Bradley that worries me, he had the similar performance against Mbappe, and it's hopefully it's not just one of these where the pressure's on him and it's highlighted that he's got to take out one of their best players. He turns up for it and then he kind of goes back in his shell against the lower teams. Hopefully, it's a good kickstart for him. 2 back-to-back 90-minute starts from him, which we haven't seen in his career with us. And even with Marmalade in goal, two clean sheets, pulled off a couple of good saves, and just echo what Kazi said. It's not that Kirk is bad, or I know we dig him out on Discord, and it's not that he's a bad defender. He's just I think he was just brought in too quick. To be make up half of the new defense along with Frimpong, it was just too much to ask for. And considering who he has playing in front of him, being Gakpo, I think there's so many times that Kirk has been left out to dry the way Gakpo plays. So bringing Robertson in was a smart choice. And it's a shame that Robertson's not 5 years younger, because I would seriously want to see him play every league game at least. But it was great all around. Ekatike once again, phenomenal. He didn't score, but he's just so fluid. That every time he gets a ball, now it's going to stick to him. He doesn't look like he will, but he does, and he tries to create all the time, which is what we're missing with Diaz. Bert's on the left. He did good. It's all around. It was a great game, and I think it's more that we played well and not Madrid played bad. I think we just really just outplayed them in every area of that park yesterday.
Brian, Chris has made a good point in the chat, but we'll get to that a little bit later. It's a really, really good point. But the thing, I know we've said it on this show before, and I know Kazi has definitely said it, and it's definitely something I grew up with and fully endorsed, because I obviously, as I've mentioned before, grew up solely in 4-4-2 and a great lover of the formation in its various guises. But the game is made out of specifically made up of partnerships. You get good partnerships between the fullback and the left mid or left wing. You've got something good going on. You get a good partnership between the two strikers or the second striker and the number 9, whatever way you want to phrase it. You've got something good going on. Is it perhaps the point that Kerkez and Gakpo didn't complement each other whatsoever, because they both wanted to do pretty much the same kind of thing, which stranded Van Dijk on that side, which made that side incredibly weak, whereas Robertson's quite happy to sit in and defend and do his job as a fullback first and then pick his moments to go forward, which meant in this game, Wirtz could do his thing and Van Dijk could trust that Robertson was where he was supposed to be, except for maybe I think there was 1 or 2 little occasions. But I saw a good analysis of the game. It showed that Robertson always coaching Wirtz. Here's where you need to be. You're going to need to be here now in certain situations. Is it that what Slot went back to essentially created the partnerships that we haven't seen in the last the few weeks before the Villa game?
I think we both kind of talked about that last week and talked about the week before right there about with Robertson and having his relationships right there, where Kirk has right there and Gakpo right there, just basically trying to run in that same amount of space where it causing lots of problems. And I think that, by seeing that right there, you saw Robertson was able to do, which made Van Dijk a little bit more assured than there. But also when I come there and make a point right there too, is that we played to the strengths of the keeper right there, which is something I said last week right there, that we were always trying to go back and play like this keeper was Allison as a sweeper keeper. We played right there to this keeper being a shot stopper. And so by doing that right there, we felt we didn't play the high line the entire match right there. And I think that you noticed that was one of the things I did notice on there. But yeah, by coming there, if you didn't leave the gaps right there to get exploited right there in this whole match right there, and you couldn't afford to do that against Mbappe, Vinny Jr. and Rodrigo. If you did that right there, you would have been 8 up. So I think those are things right there that you notice. But yeah, the relationships right there are definitely best. And I do think that that I would like to see Wirtz more on the left again right there, because I think that was a viable thing. I mean, Gakpo's came in as actually had some fairly decent play this year, and he's scored a couple of goals. But I do think that the relationship seemed like it was a lot better right there as far as with Robertson, and I wouldn't even come there and rate to see how Kirk has did with Wirtz on that left hand side, and see whether that same action would happen, which I do think you're probably eventually going to see. But yeah, I enjoyed that. I think that it was a good match. So I mean, we played very well.
Let me, because I know Cozzy loves the old statistics, but let me bring up the overall stats. We can ignore the XG if you want, Cozzy, but even with that, as you say, that is as one-sided and one. The only thing that's out of place there is the scoreline. Everything else was total dominance. With the exception of, and we've said this before on here, we didn't dominate possession. We didn't look to dominate possession. We just looked to play the game. And that's really what it should be, isn't it? You play what's there in front of you and you do what you need to do to win that particular game. You don't have to win the passing. And frequently, you probably shouldn't try and win the passing, should you? Just play the game.
For certain sides, definitely. I think Real Madrid kind of came with the idea of getting on the ball more. I think when they played Barcelona last week, they win, but they only have like 30% possession. And I think Alonso must have thought to himself, well, I want the team now to go and get on the ball and be the kind of the dominant side in that aspect. Just don't think it's worked out for him. Listen, there's a part of this though when we're talking about like again relationships and things like that, and it's all a very fair point, but there's also just the intensity of winning the ball back and the want to win the ball back. I felt, recently we're far too easy to play through our midfield. We weren't easy to play through the midfield against the last two games. We're quite difficult to create chances against. I felt personally, again in the last few games, we kind of had this really poor run. We were very easy for teams just to create against us. That's a problem. And how do you stop them creating from you? Well, you can try and win the ball out the field so they don't get near your goal. And that's exactly what we did. And that's what we went back to. And it's not rocket science. There's also, mate, it's got to be, you can't just have people just running around like a headless chicken. You've all got to be as a team pressing. It has to be all at once. When are you going? When am I staying? When are you going to go? Okay, if he makes that pass into the centre half, I'll go there because he's going to pass it to the left back, then I'll be 5 yards away from him. I can try and intercept the pass and all. So it all gets close to work. It just felt like, I think, a switch has been flipped a little bit in the last two games where they just like, hey, this is getting embarrassing, I don't like this. Is, you know what I mean? Like, this is really bad.
I saw a good, again, a good little analysis of it, which made a very excellent point on what you were saying there. The last two games, correct me if I'm wrong, because I just took the guy at his word, because it was 1 o'clock in the morning and I was shattered tired trying to go to sleep. But Szoboszlai starting in that 10 spot. He leads the press the way Bobby Firmino used to lead the press for us. He wasn't playing right back. He wasn't playing as one of the double pivot. He was the one that was cutting off all of the angles and actually creating. They made a good point. There was very rarely a switch of play from right to left, from Real Madrid's left to their right side, because who was in the way all the time? Szoboszlai. And that was like almost like a key thing, was that, as you say, you got to go together, but you kind of do need that trigger player. And we haven't had that, have we? We literally had nobody going, right, I'm going to go stop this. And will you all follow me? Because that's essentially what pressing is. I'm going to go here. You all follow me. But they were all going, well, you go. I've got to back off a bit. Now you go out there, and then I'll mark that guy. It was as he said, chaotic. But I think Wirtz covered the most distance, but I think Szoboszlai wasn't far off.
Yeah, I think it was Szoboszlai the top two. I think.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that's almost Klopp-like, isn't it? Outrun the other team first before we think about winning and playing. Outrun the other team, and we're in a good spot.
Agreed in that sense, but sometimes, again, we've ran so much, but we only had 30% possession of the ball. So it's about when you run. But you also need a leader. You need someone to go, we're going to beat the press. Yeah. I can't tell someone, like, go and tell Ekatike, do you want to go and do the press now? You have to kind of know yourself when to do it. You need someone going, hey, boys, we're going now, or we'll sit in now, and that's what your leaders are. Yeah. So Szoboszlai's at that age, and I've been his biggest critic last season. Don't think he gets enough goals.
To be fair, you did also say he was one of our most industrious, if not our most. Yeah, he had that quality already. Yeah,
he's almost an important player in midfield because he's the only one who can run, like properly running cover ground. So, I always think his numbers should be better for the opportunities he picks up. Great example is Real Madrid. He has really good chances on the edge of the box. Do you know what I mean? He forces at least 2 good saves from thingy. He should score the 1-on-1. I'm sorry, I know it's an unbelievable save. It really is an unbelievable save. It amounted to the Alisson Napoli one. Do you know what I mean? When he just swallows him and doesn't give him a chance. But if you're the Napoli player and you're Napoli fans, you go, you should bury that. Whether we like that or not. But anyway, supposedly he's at that age now where I want to see him be the leader. I think he's like 25 now, is he? 24, 25. Like,
something like that, yeah.
Like, you know, I'm not saying, you know, he should be Gerrard in Istanbul because he was 25. But I'm like, you should be looking going, fucking made man here.
He should be
matured.
So, I mean, he should be like, I want me placed off that attitude of going, no, I'm the main man. I'm the fucking fella. Like, and I want to be this guy, and I'm going to tell us what we're going to do, and I'm going to lead this. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't think we've seen enough dominating performances last season. I think this season he's been our best player, by the way. I think he's been our best player this season. At least our most important player. There's an argument, you know, the centre halves or whatever. I'm not asked. But, and I just want to see more of that. A complete midfield performance. He's unlucky yesterday not to get a goal. He's unlucky against Villa, really, as well. Because I think, again, the positions he picks up, gents, he has a great strike on him. And I felt like he doesn't, again, that's my main criticism. It's just, he doesn't shoot enough, doesn't score enough. He's forcing mistakes. I thought that the second one that he does with Courtois parries it. Another day, Wirtz is running in slots. And we all go, do you know what I mean? So sometimes, you know, you've got to take the chance to win the lottery. But you need that player, mate, to kind of say to everyone, we're going now. You need that. He's the fucking Hungarian captain. He leads 11 lads. He's the best player in Hungary by a mile, clearly. Because that's why he plays for Liverpool. So it's that kind of like, when are we? You need those type of leaders. And I think we're finally starting to see this season that he can be that leader for Liverpool. And that's the main thing. This
is the graphic of all of his touches. I mean, that's literally a cover every blade of grass performance there, isn't it? I mean, he was all around the place. This is
what he paid the 70 million for. It's finally showing what we paid for.
But he takes the corner for Ekitike's header, which Courtois parries over as well. I think he's on the corner as well. And they had a couple of really good balls because Ekitike hits one wide straight after, doesn't he? Where he just post basically. And they were his corners, I think, as well. So his corners are getting better. But the manager called us out last season. So what we're saying is not what I was at least saying is nothing new. The manager called it out before the AC Milan game last season. I always remember it. And he goes, he gets in these positions, doesn't get the numbers. So it's now just he should be walking off this season, let's be frank, with double-figure goals and double-figure assists. He's good enough. So go and get with them. And that's what you know, if you get those numbers, I think that's from midfielders, you're halfway there from winning the big trophies.
Szoboszlai leading the press, but Wirtz covering the most distance. I've always said in my crappy experience in the game, but I've always said if you can't do the creative stuff, at least do the work rate. And Wirtz did the work rate, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think it was easier for him to do the work rate. I think he's still short of confidence to take a shot when he can. It's like Kazi had said, like I think Wirtz last season would have gone in for that parry, gone in for that rebound. I think he's just a little bit shy of confidence, shy of actually taking that step and trying to get a goal. And hopefully that comes. But I mean, he, like I said, he did the hard part and made the hard part look relatively easy. You know, that's what we can't expect from Wirtz. And hopefully just, you know, it just kicks on from this. I think we looked so much more balanced with that formation yesterday, and it's not about knocking Gakpo. I mean, he is a good player, but I just think when he plays, it just brings so much imbalance to the team, and we just lack creativity, and he's predictable himself, and it's just he's got the goals, which is great, but how many more goals can we get, and how many more chances can we create if he's not constantly just trying to cut in and being tackled, or trying to cut in on the shots not coming off, and he weakens our left side of that pitch. Whereas Wirtz, where he's playing there, he's intelligent. He just needs to get some confidence in shooting and just not be afraid to shoot. And then also we've got Ekitike, who's just like, his confidence is sky high. And it's just such an ideal position to be in, and that's why I love Ekitike so much. He knows that he's like coming back, and it just shows no fear. He's not going to let go of that shirt. So it's a great position to be in. so far. Coming up two wins back to back.
Brian, I wanted to show you this. I always think of our European nights like one of the best nights for me. Certainly as a young adult, was the Liverpool-Barcelona game where we won 1-0 under Gerard Houllier in 2001. It was just like a proper, that was a great Barcelona team. And here we were like doing the dirty work. That was the great thing about we did the dirty work. So if we saw this and didn't know which teams were playing in which direction, you would think Real Madrid were in blue and Liverpool were in purple with a 1-0 win. But it's completely the opposite. Now, Alonso was touted as a potential Liverpool manager after Klopp. He did a great job at Dortmund. He's doing a good job at Real Madrid, but maybe partly because Barcelona can't get their crap together sometimes, as we saw against Bruges. But that was as dominant. That was an example that, Arne Slot was the man as he could get, really, wasn't that? That was like a vision for what us as fans got, because he had got a lot of support as being for being the next Liverpool manager, but also to show what's his name again, Trendy something or other, that guy, what he's missing.
I mean, this Real Madrid side has got so top heavy that's imbalanced, and I think that's probably the one thing you could probably say about them.
That's what happens to me. That's why I fall over a lot. I'm very top heavy.
But I mean, if you look at it right there, I mean, it's like I guess the biggest question right there is a Mbappe club side ever going to be successful? I
think we're being harsh here, gents. I really do. I think they've won 10 and 11. They're a decent side. I know what you're saying about Barca. They are a good side, and I think we're just not giving Liverpool enough credit to kind of people. Do you know
I agree. I agree totally right there, but I just think that again, I think that there seems to be an imbalance in that side right there. I think that we took advantage, and we took advantage of it. I mean, I was watching analysis right there that was going on that match Thierry Henry was talking about with Vinny Jr. about I know we're going to go there eventually talk about Connor a little bit more right there, but how Vinny Jr., how wasteful he was in that entire match right there on there, with trying to go there and run at him and play with the ball and stuff like that. Connor just wasn't having it right there. And so these are things right there, what you see right there with some of the players. It's so much frill and so much things right there that they're not back to basics. They're trying to go there actually do things instead of actually playing the ball. They're actually going and playing with the ball. I mean, if you get what I'm saying. And that's what Vinny Jr. noticed him do. And I mean, Mbappe right there, we just never gave him space. And I think that just shows right there that they're still a little ways off. They're still a ways off right there. Will they win the Spanish league? Sure. I mean, but I also just don't see them being a side going far in this competition. I think that they'll go into the group stages maybe through there, but they're disjointed at the moment. I don't think that the guy that you see that would play for us gave them anything. I don't see where he gave them anything that they really needed. I saw one pass that was like basically skied up in the air. I mean, for the most part, that there was nothing there. So I just it was a dominant performance by us.
Yeah, I think we really should be getting out there, because they have won 10-11. Like, they played well. Do you know what I mean? Like, because Liverpool played unbelievable doesn't mean that they're shite. I mean, Rodrigo didn't play, by the way. But so I just feel like, and again, but I feel like they're missing Carvajal a lot. And I think sometimes you take your captain out your team. Let's be frank, lost Virgil van Dijk. It's your captain. Do you know what I mean? It's a big loss, and we should give them that credit as well. But it's still a team with so many attacking talents, and Liverpool didn't give them a sniff. And that should be full credit to Liverpool, by the way. We shouldn't. I don't want to roll in if we go and whack City 3-0 and go that City side shot. No, they're actually playing well. I want that to be the credit that Liverpool are playing well. Do you know what I mean? And I think that should just be the story here a little bit more than they've swallowed it at Anfield again, like they usually do. Do you know what I mean? Well, they did at least last time, and the time before they whacked us 5-2. But yeah, and I mean, again, I thought their left back was really good, by the way. He was at United. Really? I think he was at United, a couple of years ago. Under Ten Hag, couldn't get a game, and now he's starting left back for them. Can't get Mendy on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? So I just feel like, and again, I spoke to the Mbappe argument to his mate, right? And I know what you're saying about being the top heavy, and he's just not playing in his position. He's left wing. He's not really a forward. I don't think. I think he's a left winger. I think he's left wing in a 4-3-3, which they don't play. Do Do you know what I mean? I know we can get out of jail because he does it for France a little bit, where when France is successful, at least Giroud was doing a lot of it. Do you know what I mean? But again, it was an unbelievable performance, and I'm glad I got my booze as well.
But that's also the really think right there that they're missing an old head in that side right there, somebody who actually goes through that can bring it through. And I think they're really missing Modric. I mean, honestly, I think Modric was a leveler for that side right there that kept them straight.
Mate, I couldn't agree more with that, right? And that's something I want to bring up as well. When they went 2-0 down, when they beat us 5-2, they were 2-0 down. You've seen Modric, the players just going, bang, we've been here before, Jens Benzema, and that's just going, bang, shut this out, we'll create our chances. And I remember they killed the game for like 10, 15 minutes, and they just killed it. They just haven't got that experienced player to lean on anymore. Do you know what I mean? Give the ball to Modric and your Cruisers and your Benzema's going, lads, we've been here before, we've been it all the time. Do you know what I mean? And let's be frank here, we can sit there and say whatever you like about that Madrid side. We're probably going to play them in the quarters of the semis again. Because that's what they do. They're still, you know what I mean? I think they've won 2 out of 3 before they played us or something, or whatever it was. So they're still probably going to finish in the top 8. So you're probably going to play them anyway. So, and then they could be in a completely different position. And then everyone will talk about how good our win was. If we played them in March, mate, and they went 14 out of 15, but like the PSG conversation, where they just got their shit together. Real Madrid will get their shit together. It's Real Madrid in the Champions League. They are going to get their shit together. So it's nice to play them and actually get one over on them.
Now, we've talked a lot about this, the kind of sometimes shapeless formations, play, except when we went to that 4-4-2. But here's the thing, the statistical thing I want to show. And I want to see what jumps out to everybody here, apart from the fact that we kept our shape for pretty much the entire time. What's the big thing that jumps out there?
Fuck me. Look at the space. In terms, where Bradley's position is, at least compared to Robertson's. A lot more width. Robertson feels like he's coming inside.
He's close. But that's the passing map.
Yeah.
There's very few passes between Konate and Van Dijk for a change.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of passes forward, and I believe Mamardashvili played a lot of passes long as well. Like instead of trying to play on everything onto his left foot, it was almost like the penny dropped, wasn't it? It was like, oh, stop playing football, Mamardashvili.
It's easier though, in my opinion, if you're Mamardashvili and that, where you can play it longer if the ball's going to stick with Salah. Do you know what I mean? Because his last 2 games, I felt like he's been back a little bit. I think he's getting back to his former self last 2 games. You can play longer if the ball's got to stick to the forwards.
Yeah.
We were hitting the ball long 3 weeks ago and it was just bouncing off Salah for a throw it. So they're probably like, we don't want to go long anymore because we can't trust them to hold the ball up. You know what I mean? So there's also that conversation to have as well, I think.
He had some great runs yesterday.
Yeah, as well, I believe I think we won more second balls than we have in the last few weeks too.
That was it. We weren't winning the first ball was let alone the second balls. But now it's we look so much better.
Can we talk about Trent?
We can, but can we also just talk about that the next time Liverpool go into any sort of a dip, the stats guys should just come on the show and listen to us talk for a bit, because we've said all these things and then they did all these things and now they've started to win. So we'll talk about Trent a little bit. I just want to show the where we are now, because I didn't even pay any attention to the table. I keep forgetting that it's a league table, but not a bad position to be in. We were top this time last year. It didn't bloody do us any good whatsoever, but for how the season looked like it could shape up, being 8 is not a bad way to be right now, is it?
I think 15 points last time was top 8. I think it was 15 last time that was that guaranteed top 8. So if you base it off that, Liverpool still have PSV at home and Karabag at home. Now, of course, you'd love that free week in January if you get it all tied up. But let's be frank, going to Inter Milan's going to be really tough. We know this.
Yep.
And we should, of course, respect them for that. Liverpool can get a point in Inter Milan, and then if you basically make the Karabag, I think that's the last game, a free hit in January with no League Cup. Because remember last year we had the League Cup, of course, no League Cup back-to-back semis. Liverpool, January looks a lot more open and fresher than it did last January. And then we all spoke about what happened in February and March, where Liverpool kind of just, where the derby got rearranged and the Villa game got rearranged, and we just kind of ran our legs off at the end of February. So it can open up for you in that sense. But Liverpool, I think, are in a great position in terms of where you want to be. I don't think there's much. I agree with you, Mac. I don't think there's much difference now between 8th and 3rd. I don't think it makes any difference. They're all decent sides. Let's be frank, there's only like 3 or 4 really bad sides. Not bad sides, but sides that are never going to win it. Or like, you know, you can look at PSV, for example, but PSV have some pedigree, at least in the Champions League. They have a bit of history in the Champions League. Like, they're used to getting into the knockout stages and stuff like that. But like teams like Karabag and Palace and plays like, they're not going to, you know what I mean? So I don't think they're going to qualify, but it looks like Benfica might get relegated as well. And a couple of others, because I think they've lost 3 or 4. So yeah, it might open up for Liverpool.
So let's talk about Trent, because we know it causes he's itching to. Now, do you know what? I don't listen to commentary. I just turn everything down. I'm deaf, so I can't hear it anyway, but I just don't want to listen to it in the first place. I don't follow post-match or pre-match interviews unless I'm grabbing quotes for here. I don't have time most of the time, essentially. So I never hear really what goes on. But what I saw on social media was a lot of people almost like, you know, trying to justify criticizing Liverpool fans for booing every touch that Trent Alexander took. But people don't understand. It's not that he left, is it? It's solely the manner in which he did so. There are many players that have left Liverpool and have come back to great reception. Even Fernando Torres in that Legends game got a great reception. You know, time healing all wounds and all of that. But you know, with Trent, it was different. We were led down a blind alley for most of the season, only to discover he'd been taking Spanish lessons on the sly. But it couldn't have gone any better for Liverpool, really, could it, with Trent?
I mean,
no. I mean, he deserves it. I mean, it's. I think what it is, Liverpool fans have. We've got we've created ourselves this halo image that we don't boo our players, and rightly so. We shouldn't. But then you have players like Torres got big when he first came back, but he deserved it. Diouf, another one. I know these pundits are getting on our backs and stuff, like especially London clubs. I don't remember London clubs clapping at old players or ex-players. They're always booing. It's just BS. It's just something to try and knock Liverpool fans over the head with. We don't boo ex-players lightly, and even when Robbie Fowler went to Leeds, like we'll mock him and everything else, but we don't boo our players lightly, and there was a reason why we booed him. As long as it doesn't go beyond just the booing and doesn't get like personal or abusive. It is what it is, and but it's just stupidity. I don't understand why it's even a topic for discussion with pundits. They've got better things to talk about.
Yeah, but follicles apparently as well. But Brian, here's what I want to kind of flip the script a little bit. There's no doubt that Trent Alexander-Arnold, in terms of pure talent, is a better football player than Conor Bradley. But Conor Bradley put on a lesson in how to be a fullback yesterday in that game, didn't he?
Absolutely. I mean, all these little memes coming around with with basically Vinny Jr. in his back pocket, the ones with him walking both Mbappe and Vinny Jr. stuff like that. The kid had a fantastic match. I mean, that's like, and to go on that thing, when you get there and have when you basically hear the cop go there and start singing, there's only one Conor Bradley. I mean, through there, of course, was mocking at Trent in a way right there, but it was right. I mean, the kid deserved to get his name sung in the cop. I mean, but I mean, with it right there, it's like I just want to see this. I want to see this Conor Bradley consistently right there, and that's the one thing that all of us right there have said about him over the time is like he'll have these really strong matches and stuff like that, but then next thing he goes and throws into goes into a spell where he's just getting beaten out of left and right. And I want to have a successful competition between him and Frimpong right there, so that they can make both themselves better in the long run. And I think that I want Conor to get past this little injury thing that he's had in the past, where it's a lot of touch and goes and stuff like that. Because I think the kid's super talented. I think he's got a lot of potential. He does the one thing that the previous right back that we had right there couldn't do. He actually read his players and he drew back and he came there and defended. I mean, he basically marked Vinny Jr. I mean, he had one time right there toward the beginning of the match right there where he had a little bit of a problem with Vinny Jr. Vinny Jr. got wasteful, but after that, man, Conor was like, okay, is this all you got? This kid's is fucking. I mean, basically his head just said, "Oh, this is all you got right there." So he just came there and was like right on him the entire match. I mean, so it was just a immense match for him right there, and it was super impressive. But again, I want to see consistency.
Yeah, because he
Honestly,
you being. Yeah, go ahead.
Before you go, fella, I hope Vinny Jr. can show up to Conor Bradley's Ballon d'Or celebration next year. You know what I mean?
And he can cry at it as well. But as the resident Scouser, I'm going to throw out some names here. Joey Jones, Rob Jones, Emlyn Hughes, way back when he first signed for Liverpool, Jimmy Case, Tommy Smith when he was young. The Liverpool crowd love players who are almost working class. Let's put it that way. Even though Emlyn Hughes turned out to be a filthy Tory later on, but have a working class ethic in that. I'm just gonna grit this out. Like I'm from the tough streets, and you're gonna have to deal with me. And that was kind of almost the difference between maybe some fullbacks we've had and what Conor Bradley was doing, because that was a proper working class performance, wasn't it? It wasn't I'm going to outplay you. It's I'm going to put you on the ground a few times if you want to try and get by me.
It's also a lot, I think, sometimes, and I only like to see players use this every so often to play the occasion a little bit and know what you can do in effect as a fullback and as a midfield player, let's say, in the game where you can get a big tackle off early and get the crowd up for it and things like that. What he's amazing. My issue with Conor Bradley is just fitness. That's all. You can be as good as you like. You can be genuinely, you can be Cafu, but if you're not fit, you can't help me. So I don't care. Do you know what I mean? Like, so now it's like, okay, 2 really good performances. You got City away next week. It's going to be another hard game for you. Let's kick on. Then you're probably going to go away with Northern Ireland. I think he play. Matthew might know this. Did he play in the back three? I think for Northern Ireland. I'm sure. I can't remember. Someone said he plays like in the centre half of the back three.
Yeah, he plays the outside.
Yeah. So outside right of the back three. So it's a slightly different position. Hopefully a bit of less running, of course, and a bit of less. And then they'll have decisions to make when Frimpong's back, and you can kind of pick and choose because the games do lighten up a little bit. So, for example, PSV could you do Kirkes and Frimpong, for example, if Frimpong's fit? And do you know what I mean? And kind of rest, because you can't be basically making the changes now in the league because you're so far behind. Do you know what I mean? So maybe you can kind of get the minutes into those lads then. But yeah, I mean, the working class thing's hard because again, it probably goes back to Trent in a little way, where you've gave us a story and they sold us a story of your upbringing and things like this and whatever it was, and that you're one of us on the pitch, and we wouldn't do that, what you did. And that's the biggest argument around it all. They're leaving on a free and the money, and that he's definitely taking like that. And the Spanish lessons, you said Spanish for 6 months, Bella, the way he was talking in his press conference looked like 18 months to 2 years. My God, that wasn't an hour a night on Duolingo, was it? Do you know what I mean? He was okay. You know what I mean? So, and he gets exactly what he deserves and what he's done, and that's fine. And I just want to relay this point to the people, of course, who are listening. Don't listen to anyone in the media talk about Liverpool who has played for Manchester United. Can we just all stop this? Like, I watched the overlap today, and Roy Keane kind of came out. It was a disgrace and all that. You captain Man United for 10 years, fella. Your opinion on Liverpool means absolutely zero to me. Literally zero. Oh my God, Gary Neville and Paul Scholes are sitting there going, yeah, that was wrong, winner. Lads, your opinion on Liverpool means absolutely you don't get to decide how we should feel. You don't get to decide that. We do. Do you know what I mean? And by the way, like, you listen to morons on the radio like Gabby Ogbonlahor or Jamie O'Hara, and that, just ignore it all. Just blank it out. We already know. If you're a fan of this football club, we know how you should feel. We know what's happened.
Exactly.
That's all that matters. And that's.
I mean, it's cool. The only Man United player I heard said something sensible was Paul Scholes. He said that Trent left a better club.
I've got no issue with leaving with a bigger club. Remember, they're big on Liverpool. By the way, I think
there's a way of leaving. There's a way of leaving, and
exactly.
It's
there's ways of doing things in life. I would have no issue if he was like, listen, boys, I want everything. I really want to try, really want to fancy it. They go in and get 60, 70 million for him. And Coutinho literally acted more loyal than him. And we give Coutinho a hard time for faking a back injury. I'd fake a back injury to go and play for Liverpool if I was at a different club. My God, mate, I'd try and fucking stab the owner's wife to get to Liverpool if I was a football player. Because that's the team you support, and that's what Coutinho did. Coutinho signed a contract 5 months before he left. knowing this was happening, so Liverpool can go and get maximum value, and then made Liverpool, the money, of course. But no, we should be treating him differently because he's from Liverpool. No, so if you're from Liverpool, it's even worse because you should know. You should know. You can't. I've defended you, lad. Some of your defending, abysmal defending at times for fucking 7 years. I put my arse out on the line for you and go, nah, man, no, you don't see it. I know he's an average defender. Do you know what I mean? So I'm made up. He got the reception he deserved, and I'm made up he understands now. And I'm made up by the way the outside world kind of understands it a bit more. I've seen Carragher do a bit of a thing on CBS, but he kind of mentioned it a little bit as well. I only seen the snippet. But yeah, I hope he comes back for a big semi-final as well and absolutely chokes it when it comes in April.
So let's move on to we've kind of expressed our concerns about the main man, not about his hair. His hair is obviously fantastic, what little there is of it, but we talked about wanting to see changes. That's what we want. We wanted to see him solve the problems, and to be fair to the lad, he has done it in buckets. Suzy, what do you think has changed other than listening to us? What do you think has changed with Arne Slot? Has he kind of lost did he lose the stubbornness a little bit? Did he see that what he wanted wasn't working? Did he see that trying too many players, new players at the same time wasn't working? Did he see maybe his principles were not going to fit this group of players? So let's go back to a little bit of the compromise hybrid thing that we did last year that was so successful. What do you think changed for Arne Slot between what was the last game before the Villa game?
Brentford.
Between the Brentford game and
the League Cup Palace game, which no,
yeah, he threw that. We know he threw that one away, and he had to get these two results to make that justified. Yeah. But he obviously had a change of thinking because he's changed things up, like putting Szoboszlai out there, putting Wirtz out there, dropping Gakpo, and kind of. I know he has to technically rely on Ekitike, but Ekitike seems like the main man up front this season. So, what do you think changed that was different in the previous 6 losses out of 7? Because that was a horrendous record. And as we said here, it can't continue without questions being asked and logically being asked at a club like Liverpool. But what do you think had changed for him?
I don't know. I think the way we started the season, obviously, it was 5 wins out of 5. And part of it reminded me of how we rocked up with Klopp. And it's like, well, this is who we are, and you just have to beat us. And it worked for a while. And then we had that narrative of winning the games in the last second and whatever it is, and and the whole Jota thing, and this is it. And I think we created such a false sense of entitlement that a Crystal Palace game really kicked us in the nuts when we lost, and we just weren't able to recover from that. And somewhere along the line, we lost our identity. I think Slot lost his identity of when he first came into our club, where Klopp was like, okay, this is us, and you have to deal with us. Slot was more tactically aware, and we changed the game according to our opponents. And somewhere along the line, I think Slot lost that. Mainly, I think because of the 5 wins. I think and after that, it was just like we don't know how to play anymore. And you add Salah's poor form with that, then trying to fit in square pegs in round holes, and the insistence of keeping Kirkers and the stubbornness of keeping Kirkers and Gakpo playing, and so something had to break. I think he was really just back to the ropes, and like something has to give. And luckily he wasn't too stubborn to make that change. Again, not to beat Gakpo on the head, him not playing against Villa last week or starting against Villa and not starting yesterday was telling. It brought better balance up front and in midfield, and Szoboszlai, probably the best player this season so far for us, stepping up, becoming another leader on that pitch, and you can tell like he takes defeats hard, and I know Kazi didn't agree with it, but I mean, even when we lost against Bradford, and it was clapping the supporters and everything else. It just reminded me of when Klopp did the same with West Brom. When he drew against Senna, it's just like, we need the supporters. And you can look at it however you want to look at it. It just felt like, for me, the fact that Szoboszlai did it and he's stepping up as one of the leaders that we needed. It's just a whole combination of things. And that graphic that you just showed earlier on, the passes between Kanate and Virgil were non-existent. That was a big thing. So obviously somewhere along the line, it's like, all right, stop passing sideways and passing into each other. We can't score if we're not creating chances. And I think that was, just a whole combination of things have changed kind of our outlook of the season now.
Do you think, Susie, do you think maybe at those first 4 games he was playing the hot hand a little bit too much? Like, this is working. It's not quite looking good, but we'll go with it for now. And that's where the discombobulation came in. Because when it stopped working, he didn't know whether to keep going. Yeah. That's the gambler's fallacy, isn't it? You just keep going with the thing that was winning you before, but that's the fallacy. It doesn't. Things change, and you got to change with the times.
And there was just arrogance, and I think we're even us as
Dutch
fans
people arrogant. How dare you?
Well, that was it. Like, he walked in last season. He won the league with his eyes closed, and now this season we added, Isaac, Wirtz. We're world-class players into that squad team, and we're outright favourites. The way we started the season, even though we were conceding goals, like no one's business, like we were still winning these games. And I think again we put ourselves in this like a pretense that we can just walk this league again, and that was it. We just didn't know how to recover. Once Palace did that to us, we just did not know how to recover, and. Mm-hmm. It got to the lowest point against Man United. To lose to Man United at home was just the lowest point of, I'd say over the last 2-3 years for me anyway. So again, something had to change. I think some of it did change against Brentford, but we were just making stupid mistakes and just kicking the ball off for throw-ins where we know we can't defend them. And whatever the team have done, or whatever leaders have stepped up and to try and stop this rot. I mean, it worked. The Villa performance was nervy, but we still got away with it. And it was a good performance, good result in the end. And the performance didn't even matter. We just needed a result and a clean sheet. And yesterday's game was just the icing on the cake for a good week, which is stopped a really bad run of the game. So Sunday again, every game now is just the most important game of the season now for us. Until Arsenal start dropping points.
Brian, I've said here before, early in the season, that those wins just reminded me, like they gave me the heebie-jeebies because they reminded me of 2002, Gerard Houllier, running away with the league for the first 5 or 6 games, and then it dropped off a cliff, and then couldn't buy a win till I think December or something like that, because Gerard Houllier wouldn't change his plan to suit the players that he had available, because I think that was the season Owen was out injured a lot, so he only really had Heskey up front, and you couldn't play the same with Heskey. He'd sold Robbie Fowler at that point, I think.
Lippmann as well, wasn't he? I think Lippmann had gone. I think
Lippmann had gone that season as well. Yeah. El Hadji Diouf was the alternative. That's the bad season.
Yeah, he comes in the other two.
Barros there too. I think Barros was there. It's a really young though.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Let's say next season was Barros.
Yeah. This is one of the seasons I want to review on the Patreon with some of the boys. Is the old 102 season. I find it super weird what happened, but anyway, there we go.
But my point was that it just gave me that uncomfortable because we were just getting away with it back then under Houllier, but he didn't change. The great thing is Slot seems to have changed, and that's what we want, isn't it? We want the manager to recognize the issues and then make the adjustments, and it's a credit to Slot that at least for the last 2 games, he's done something different. Whether we call it back to basics or whether we call it round pegs and round holes, it doesn't really matter. The fact is he did it, and a lot of managers have lost jobs because they won't do that, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, but Bob right there made his point in the comments right there, and I think that Bob's actually spot on right there. So Gravenberch right there through the whole thing was started pressing up high. Got this whole thing from his dad right there where he could be the goals that he's put goals in his game and stuff like that. And I think that kind of changed a lot of it made us very disjointed. And basically with that high line, we never had anybody to go back, and we were getting hit by long balls. The other thing right there, putting Slavosly back in that 10th spot right there does open up Mo to more movement, because and Kazi said it right there. Slavosly is the only runner that we got in the midfielder. I mean, he's that guy. So by doing this right there, you open up. And another point I want to make right there, Heidinger got fired by Ajax. Bring Heidinger back right there, because I think that is honestly right there. I think that there was a good chemistry that was in the mix right there with him. And I think he came there and worked on the amount of goals that was against set pieces right there was the one thing that we basically fall off a cliff this whole season right there. Set piece defending, long throws. I mean, you name it, anything that goes with this, that's where our fault's been at. We had these issues last year with Heidinger, but I think like you said right there, when you go there and get yourself back, like you said, back to basics, or putting the right player in the right spot and stuff like that, you actually had a formula last year that worked right there. So sometimes going back and looking, okay, what did I stop doing last year that worked? What stopped doing that worked last year? So and that's sometimes you just gotta go and say, oh well, shucks, maybe I just need to do this. And that's what we seem to have done right there. We put Slavosly back in a natural position that he plays. We've come there and told Gravenberch, hey, guess what? In the double pivot, time your runs. Put yourself right there through right here. If McAllister's going up, you stay back, vice versa, things like that. And there's the things we didn't see that, in the past part of the season right there that we saw I saw both the double pivots basically up about already past the half line right there, all the way into already outside the box and 30 some yards outside from goal right there for most of the time, which basically left us very vulnerable right there to get scored on. And we did. I mean, so that's one of the things that happened by making that player basically step back additional 20 feet right there to stay back. It covers that space. So I think these are things right there that Slots seeing right there and saying, hey, guess what? Maybe this is why we're working correctly. And again, another thing I said right there, what I said earlier is Allison's not in goal. Don't play like Allison's in goal. I mean, you play like you have a different keeper in there. You play like you have a keeper that is a shot stopper right there. So by coming there and saying more stationary, more versus more fluid, you're coming there and supporting that keeper better. And I think that's what that keeper needed right there, was to have that type of support behind him. I mean, he's not going to be a on the foot distributing keeper. It's not his game. So you have to go there and adapt right there to suit his game. And I think that we've done that. 2 clean sheets mean a lot. I mean, to me, clean sheets mean everything in the world right there with us, because it already gives you an advantage right there to go and win a match right there if you can keep a clean sheet.
And just on the Johnny Heitinga thing, it's just Pep Linders and Sammy Lee, 2 great coaches that weren't great as managers and ended up coming back. Well, not maybe about Linders, but coming back to Liverpool. Well, Linders did come back to Liverpool. So, Cosy, there's a thing that I've been kind of obsessed with for the last few weeks called Hick's Law, and it's essentially the more decision options you have, the worse decision you end up going to make because there's too many inputs. And when you simplify things, and it was basically something that I unconsciously did when I coached, was trying to reduce options for players. That's why I like Jack Charlton. It's just the fullback gets the ball, it's gone behind the other fullback. That's it. Just don't worry about anything else. But Slot had this sudden embarrassment of riches, something he never had in Holland, of all these options. And then by just going back to just saying, right, this is what worked for me last year, so I'm just going to do that. It kind of reduced his own options, really opened up the game for him, didn't it? He doesn't have to overthink it. If Kerkez is not ready, he doesn't have to play Kerkez. If Gakpo is not effective enough, if all he's doing is creating chances for people, but otherwise losing the ball and putting us under pressure, he doesn't have to play Gakpo. When he solidifies things down and boils them down to the basic things, Slot can do a very good job. He doesn't need to be kind of appeasing everybody almost.
I think I've been overly critical of the manager, right? And I feel like sometimes it is justified. He doesn't, he also deserves criticism. some of the stuff that, again, he's done in the last couple of games is just get his leaders on the pitch. And I think sometimes it's just a super old school way of looking at it. There's loads of games, right, when under Klopp, for example, we have a lot of newer fans here, where the manager just starts Henderson, Milner, Ronaldo, and go, no, I'm just going to start them because they're leaders, and I know what I'm getting out of them. Where he doesn't know what right now he's getting out of Kerkez. I don't think anyone does. I don't think Kerkez does, to be honest, and that's just because it's
he really is the new Jose Enrique, isn't he?
Oh, I know.
I think Carragher called him the stupidest player he'd ever met.
Enrique,
literally stupid.
So again, I think sometimes, mate, we've been saying back to basics in effect, but it's been back to basics not just with the players, but with the press and the leadership that wanting to win your battles. There's a reason why the midfield's called the engine room. Like, you need to win your battles in midfield. No one walks off the pitch and go, every midfielder lost a battle and won a game. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I'm just, he needs to go back to that. I do want to say, and again, and this is not me being a negative Nancy, it is wild to me how the manager has spoken for 6 weeks how much we hate playing the long ball. Then Aston Villa come out and just start playing from the back like a prime Brazil 1970. Our manager is saying, we literally hate the long ball. We have no idea what we're doing with it. This is wild. Why do this keep happening to me? Then Unai Emery comes and starts going, do you know what we're going to do here? We're going to get Matty Cash on the ball, Konza, try and, it's like, what are we doing? Just go along to Watkins. Do you know what I mean? Like, anyway. So I would say that the opponents have played into Liverpool's hands a little in that aspect. Listen, I remember they were never going to come and kick the ball long to Vinicius Junior and Mbappe. Do you know what I mean? So they were going to play one way, which they should play that way, by the way. So there is that argument as well. But what that might have done is kickstarted Liverpool's season, in effect. So you've just sometimes played the right opponent at the right time, and that can kickstart your season. The one thing that we know after the international break is that it does lighten up for Liverpool. With the teams that we're going to be playing, like Forest, I think Sunderland as well at home and things like that. I know Sunderland on a good run, by the way, but they are at Anfield. I expect Liverpool to win. So I think we have PSV at home in there as well. But anyway, so Liverpool can kind of stringing a few together, and I know Arsenal have kind of got a few tough ones coming up. That kind of situation changes after this international break. They've got to go to Stamford Bridge to play in Spurs at home. Whether you like it or not, which way you think about Spurs at the moment, it is their derby. Anything can happen, as we know. So the manager deserves all the credit as well. The manager deserves a lot of credit for what he's done in the last 2 games. He's kind of got them back, and I didn't know if he could. He has, and that's the main thing. So that's why, again, I'm overly critical of the manager, but I will also give him his credit as well when he completely deserves it. And he's got his best players in the pitch, and he looks like he's got a tune on him, Mo Salah again. Let's be frank, we were all petrified a couple of weeks ago. We thought he's fucking finished. Do you know what I mean? The last 2 games, he's been unbelievable. He's been like really strong, powerful. The ball's been sticking. That's when you know Mo Salah's playing well. I always think when the ball sticks to him.
Yeah,
it's the first thing, isn't it?
Maybe he put some dubbing on his boots finally.
Yeah, the old school. But, credit made like Liverpool, but now this can't be a flash in the pan. Liverpool got a tough game on the weekend, and let's be frank, if Liverpool go out and beat Brentford or beat Palace, this is not a must-win, but now it is a must-win. It's this, because you've made it a must-win. And that's what the manager should be saying to the players. You've made this a must-win, so you go out and win. Because your performances a few weeks ago, you've made this now. No more dropping points. It's the last game before the international break. If Liverpool go out, do the business when the whole eyes are watching this game, and they can go out and do the business on the weekend, Arsenal sit there over the international break, go, fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? Like that, genuinely. They haven't won it before, so their nerves will start building up for them anyway, and the pressure will start building up, and they'll just go, you know what I mean? Like, it's the last thing that they want to see. So Liverpool can go out there and make them feel that pressure.
Which is a nice segue into talking about the game this weekend. Brian and Suzy, I want to go back to that comment from way back at the start of the show, which everybody should have been watching from the start or else we're coming around to your house and we're going to shave your heads. Question is, can we play that team again so soon? Can Robbo do another 90 at that intensity, converts from another 12K from the left, etc., etc.? Yeah. Now, if we talk about the hot hand, with an international break coming up, management is all about taking risks at times. And one of those risks is whether you can keep a winning team together and not have them break down. Suzy, do you think it's worth sticking with what started against Madrid for this game. I mean, there really isn't any room for Gakpo to start, is there? Like in terms of effectiveness. So Wirtz should at least get the start, shouldn't he? I mean, Conor Bradley should get the start.
Is he? Be very fucking careful the next.
Yeah, be careful. And Robertson should get the start. I mean, it's not like he's
5 days rest. 5 days rest.
Go again. I say go again. Like, why break it? It's like I said. I mean, 5 days is enough rest. I think for Robertson. You know, it's not like he's on a Zimmer frame or anything. With consistency, that's what we need. And it's like Salah had said something at the beginning of the season, and he made Arsenal the favourites to win the league because, you know, they have consistency in their players. The players know each other, and they've built a relationship. That's what we need. We need consistency. These players knowing how they play with each other. There's only so much you can do in a training pitch, but in an in-game situation, knowing how someone wants his ball, how they're going to react to it, and so forth. That's all that matters, and we have to go. You know, it's we're out of the League Cup. That's why there's less games for these players, and we've got an international break coming out. Like I said, we just have to go again, and God forbid a player gets injured, we just have to deal with it. But why changing winning formula? It makes absolutely no sense to change a winning formula.
Brian, Chris said earlier on as well that Liverpool work from the fatigue. There's like different ways to gauge how fatigued a player may be. Klopp used the lactate test and blood lactate levels. I think Rafa did as well. The Dutch are very into their rate of perceived exertion scale, etc., etc. But sometimes when you're looking ahead as a manager, and this kind of even goes to Roy Hodgson with his let's test his resolve on Daniel Sturridge. But sometimes you just have to ignore the fitness people, don't you, for the sake of form?
Absolutely. I mean, Kazi said 5 days rest. I mean, you've had 5 days rest right there on this right there. I mean, so you think about this right there is that you actually have a formula that's working on here. So I would go there and play with what you knew you play against, because again, the City side right there has already lost 2 matches also this season right there. You figure they've lost to Villa and they lost to Bournemouth. I mean, so far this season. So I believe it was Bournemouth they lost. I know they lost to Villa, right?
Is it 5 days rest?
They do. They go lose to Spurs as well. So Spurs beat them at the Etihad, then they lose to Brighton a week later.
Brighton. It was Brighton I meant, and then Villa 1-0.
Yeah, they lose to Villa a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, again, right there, you don't have a very consistent City side either. I mean, yeah, they've won 3 on a bounce right now. I mean, right there on there, but still, it's the point right there that this is still a susceptible City side. And so if you go there and actually, and I think that Szoboszlai right there in that number 10 spot is going to scare the shit out of them. I mean, it's one of those things to do right there. I think that you leaving this side the way it is right there against Real Madrid, go off right there. And after this right there, they have an international break. So these players right there are going to play a little bit, but some of them aren't. You just go there and basically go there and end this break on a high note. And I think if you bring in Kirkes in there, I still see I see problems. I just see problems, and there's no knock on Kirkes right there, but I just don't think that. I think that you have good chemistry right now, and from 2 matches right there with Robertson being there right there. You've got good chemistry. Stick with it.
We talked about Salah, coming a little bit back into form. The ball sticking to him. Combine that with Szoboszlai in that 10 spot, combine that with Ekitike just looking like he's ready to burst into goals again. Combine that with Wirtz looking like he's found a little bit of a place on the team. We all know Pep Guardiola hates playing against an on-fire Salah. Are the conditions set for Salah to make his kind of big seasonal comeback with another like 10 out of 10 performance against City?
Potentially, he's playing against a very young left back, probably Nico O'Reilly, who's kind of, a newish left back in that sense. But listen, he's only missing a goal. It's an unbelievable block by, I can't remember who made the block yesterday. from when it in the second half. I can't remember. Well, I think it was Huijsen actually made the block when the keeper says it, bounces out to him, and he makes the touch. It's on his left foot from 6 yards, and they just make a great block. I'll count my finger. But yeah, so I mean, he's just needs a little goal now, of course, in that sense. But I just think with the City side and the unbelievable side, by the way, still because the striker is a joke. He's just a joke. He's just a ridiculous human being. And if he wants to stay and beat Alan Shearer's record probably in 5 years, he probably could do that because that's how much of a joke he is. Like, he's a ridiculous. Yeah. And that's why sometimes you'll always be this team. Doesn't matter if you have 11 average players and one boss striker, because they can just carry it over the line in certain games, and they can just carry it to things. So I go back to the 13-14 season where Liverpool just had 2 boss strikers, 9 okay footy players at the time, and Henderson played well on Coutinho and Gerrard. It was the last of Gerrard, and Liverpool nearly win the league because they just have 2 unbelievable lads who can put the ball in it. Do you know what I mean? And that's what can happen with City at any given time in a game. But again, yeah, you roll the same team out, you don't change anything. There's enough of a break, there's enough of the timeline. And I don't mind you start tinkering a little bit when after the international break. If you look at Robertson, for example, Van Dijk looks like a different player. Robertson's been unbelievable. It's basically his left back spot now until he gets said anything different, basically, until he doesn't play well and it kind of, loses his form. But again, if you go back to it, this is an almost win game. I think Liverpool win, by the way. I think Liverpool can get all over that Nico Gonzalez. I'm not his biggest fan at all. I think he's okay, but I just don't think he's an unbelievable number 6. And I think Liverpool can get all over him. I think Szoboszlai can run all over him. And I think that's your way home. But we know it's your way home in most games. Szoboszlai's your way home when it's in the 10. But I just think with him, it's not like he's playing against like a Declan Rice or a Zubimendi and that type of player. That Nico Gonzalez is not very good on the ball. He's not quick. He's a bit slow on the half turn. I think Liverpool can just really intercept it. Joe, when he's basically looking to get his head up, and if Liverpool have that intensity that they matched in the Real Madrid game, and you can go out and match it, I think we'll just swallow them high up the field. I always go back to that Klopp first season when we go in with 3-0 inside half an hour, and he just couldn't live with us. I think Firmino gets it. That's Firmino's first ever goal for Liverpool, I think. Skirtle scores an unbelievable mad one, doesn't he, in the second half. I always go back to that game where I think Liverpool could do that. I think Liverpool can go there and swallow them. And I actually think they will.
So, see, what do you think? How's it going to pan out? And then, I think simplifying things for Robert Ashley, and as Cosy said earlier, knowing that the ball will stick with Salah is important, but also we seem to deliberately play balls into spaces against Madrid that would allow us to turn and press on it. If there are uncomfortable players in that City defensive structure, that's for Szoboszlai playing on this kind of form. That's his bread and butter almost, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's a lot of narratives around this game. With obviously Pet Linda's there and so forth, but I think we get a slot special in this game. I think, obviously, going back to what you said, back to basics, and it's you don't win titles. You win titles on defense, and we need to show up that defense. It looks like last 2 games, and it's only 2 games, but the defense is a lot more solid. Konate, he's still, for the love of God, if he could just pass to one of our players, he could be a lot better player than what he is. And it's like Kazi has said before, he's so insistent on winning battles. Sometimes, you just don't need to go out for the battles. You just need to let the player get the ball and then go in for him. Or, you don't always need to be winning that first ball. Just, I think that's where he makes his mistakes. But yeah, if we can keep that defense tightened up and, if we can keep a clean sheet in this game, I think we win this game comfortably, albeit 2-0.
Brian, what do you think?
I'm kind of in line with both of Wakazi and Serzi. I think if we stay consistent right there with the side we played against Real Madrid, I think we could swarm them. I think we can really. I think that there's so many second guessing in that defense right there, especially with the pace right there. That I think that we have the possibility of doing a number on them. So yeah, I think that this could easily be a 3-0 match, or 3-1, something like that. With a cheap Haaland goal in there, because again, I'm not. You're not. You can only negate that guy so much. The guy's just is a beast right there. I mean, it really is. So I mean, I could go with a 3-1 like that. A Tamushin special right there, basically.
Yeah.
Do you think this is going to be do you think it's going to be a case of if Kanate and Virgil can work together, that Kanate, what's his name, Haaland, is going to have one of those games where he gets taken off the field sulking. You know that when he just get his way, he comes off sulking.
Not with the mood he's in. He'll score. He will score. Not with the mood he's in. He's right now the best player in the world. It's this. So, but I still think Liverpool win 3-1 or something like that. I think it'll be 1-1 till like the 70 and Liverpool will win 3-1. I just. He's interesting here because I think their manager has a lot more of a decision to make than our manager, and I think sometimes that's a nice place to be. So why I say that is that Aït-Nouri's back for him now. Does he do Aït-Nouri left back, or is he going to back O'Reilly to stay there? Will he back Savio if he doesn't really fancy? Because it wasn't Savio trying to go to Spurs in the summer and that he doesn't really fancy him a lot.
Yeah.
Are you throwing Oscar Bob in a big game like this, coming back from his injury? Because Oscar Bob's been on the bench and getting minutes. I think Villarreal, he got minutes. And again, the Nico Gonzalez, the Reinders issue. And by the way, I'm a big Reinders fan, by the way, I really am. But sometimes he plays him like alongside Gonzalez, and then sometimes he plays him at a 10. He's playing Nunes at right back, which is fine. He's played midfielders in full-back before. You know, I think John Stone's done a season at right back and they won the league. So, but if you're Florian Wirtz, you probably go, well, I'd rather play against him than you would Rico Lewis, even though that sounds wild to say because Rico Lewis is a bit inconsistent. But just because he's a full-back. It's just because he's a really quick fullback. So if you're Wirtz, who would you rather play against? It's a bit like if you're asking the right back of City, would you rather play against Gakpo or Wirtz? They go Gakpo. I know exactly what he's going to do. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes you've got to keep that unpredictability. So I just think their manager has more decisions and questions to make. And I think based on the last 2 games at least, and I know they've had a good win as well against Dortmund and things, and I get that, but that's not the same Dortmund side that got to the final. You know what I mean? They're bringing on like Chukwuemeka and Fabio Silva, who couldn't get a game of Wolves, and Emre Can, I think, got on. Do you know what I mean? Like, these are players who are run-of-the-mill Premier League players who were starting for them or getting game time sort of for them. So I think Liverpool win 3-1, but I think it'll be like 1-1 until like the 70th and Liverpool win. I'm
going to say 3-0, Darwin Núñez hat-trick.
Okay. Yeah.
Has to happen at some point. So with that said, I believe there's a morning coffee tomorrow. I think, because he's here for it. Then we will see if you do all of these things. If you follow us on YouTube, click that bell and get notifications. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, Blue Sky, and all of the social medias. Then you will know what we are doing for the weekend, whether there's a pre-match, watch along, and post-match, etc. for the City game. But the one thing is that we have, I don't want to say turned a corner, but we have steered the car in a rightward direction at an angle at a traffic light. Let's put it that way. And we'll let's see how further it goes, but the signs are a lot more hopeful than they were a couple of weeks ago. That's the best thing I think we could say about it. So, gentlemen, thank you for giving up your evenings again, as always. For everybody else, tune in. Don't drop out. We need everybody to be here following Liverpool. But let's hope for a win. I'm going to book the trend. I think we're going to get a clean sheet. I think we're going to keep Haaland quiet. I think Gravenberch stays in his position. And the 3 of them and Mamardashvili stop Haaland. They make him have a frustrating afternoon. How many we score, I don't know. But I think that's what we'll go. Mostly because my dad's a City fan and I want to laugh at him when I call him after the game. Even though he's in poor health. But, laughter is the best medicine. That's what they say. So we'll see everybody next week. Enjoy the coffee morning and be safe on your weekends. Have a good one. Here is some funky music to get us going to beddy, boys.